Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joshua Ramirez-Cuadra, and I first and foremost want to thank you guys for watching, and thank you for allowing me to present this information to you. I will be presenting on the topic of whether or not monsters play a vital role in aiding to the functioning of society, and I actually believe they do, and I believe they do play a vital role in the functioning of society. Some of the questions that I plan to answer are, first and foremost, do they actually help us and help aid the functioning of society? And do they actually play an essential role in that? And I believe they do. I also want to see some of the different perspectives. I want to see whether or not a lot of it is negative, and I feel like a lot of the research that I do will be negative just because of the stigmas that come along with the idea of being a monster. And also some of the expectations. I feel like a lot of it has to do a lot of the research is gonna come out, and it's gonna show a lot of monsters and mental health, a lot of very negative aspects, and I don't believe that monsters are that as negative as we may put them out to be. My overall thesis is monsters play a vital role in how society functions as a whole, and some of the things that I'm going to be touching on today are that monsters aid in allowing members of society to distinguish between the good and the bad. Monsters can help distinguish reality from fantasy, and they are a vital in helping society live out their fears and overcome those fears in a positive way. And some of the counter arguments that I expect to come across, and that I'm going to write about as well, is whether or not they actually do help society, and whether monsters are positive for society, or whether they're just a way for to be traumatized, for society to be traumatized, and they do actually cause an overall harm. I'm going to be using some of the quotes from the very first article that we read by Stephen King, and I chose this article because, one, I'm a big fan of his work. I've read The Shining, and I've also read It, so I enjoy Stephen King a lot, and as you can tell, I'm a big fan of horror myself. And let's get right into it. So now for my presentation of information that I found for you guys. So monsters are a vital part of society. They give us an outlet to express the feelings hidden deep within us, and allow for those feelings to be expressed in a healthy way. Through the use of horror and a monstrous being, society is able to comfortably express the feelings we all hold and fears we have within ourselves. Monsters are a part of us and often have similar characteristics to human beings. They also play a key role in allowing for society to distinguish between the good and the bad. Monsters are also a way for society to tell the difference between fantasy and reality. They are important in helping society play out their own fears right in front of them and overcome those fears in a healthy way. Monsters are also a way for society to determine whether or not we have overcome our past and pave the way for a better future. Overall, monsters play a key role in how society functions. They aid in maintaining an expression of emotions in a healthy way, as well as allow for society to have an outlet to express those unhealthy emotions and fantasies. Society as a whole has a history of mental health issues. We all struggle with our own inner demons. We all struggle with our own inner demons and have different ways of expressing them. I think we're all mentally ill. Those of us outside of the asylum only had it a little better, and maybe not all that better. And that's a quote from Stephen King. Monsters are a way for us to express and live out our inner fears. According to King, we all naturally have these feelings that may not be acceptable. Some are just able to contain those emotions a little bit better. Horror gives society a healthy alternative to expressing these emotions. Creating monsters gives society an outlet to express unhealthy emotions and a healthy way to deal with them. Monsters are a way for society to distinguish the good from the bad. Think of how it felt watching a horror movie, for example, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There are a large number of individuals that are exposed to that movie and overall enjoy the feeling of being scared. A lot of the horror fans actually seek the thrill involved with being scared and run towards it. What horror, and specifically monsters, do is expose society to the difference between the good and the bad. Leatherface is a great example of this because he represents both the monster and horror and shows that those that view the movie what comes with the actions of a murderer and what not to do. Society has this innate curiosity of the unknown, and a lot of the different fantasies that play out in each of our heads, like for example the thought of murdering someone. We as a society know and accept the fact that murdering someone and taking a life is not the right thing to do, but we may still seek that thrill and adventure that comes along with the actions of murdering someone. So society plays out and expresses these feelings by watching these movies on the screen and kill that overall curiosity for the time being through the use of horror and these monsters. Monsters are a vital part of society because they serve the purpose of distracting us and keeping our inner demons at ease. We all have inner demons and have different ways of expressing those inner demons. Monsters are used in a way to suppress those inner demons and maintain a healthy mindset despite everything that is going on in our head. They provide us with an outlet to better be able to understand and deal with these emotions. Horror, and monsters in specific, allow for a safe space for our inner demons to come out and play. Without the use of monsters and horror available to us, we would ultimately go insane because we would just be too in over our heads and have no outlet to express what is going on. It keeps them from getting out, man. It keeps them down here and me up here. That's another quote from Stephen King. Horror, and monsters in particular, separate the fantasy from reality. At times, we might find ourselves in over our heads with our inner demons seemingly taking control of our thoughts, and the use of monsters and horror aids in giving us the outlet that is needed. Monsters are very important to society because they help us get the strength and courage to fight those inner demons and come out on top. Without the use of monsters and horror, we would just find ourselves delving deep into our own heads, allowing for those inner demons to take over and take control of us. Monsters and horror are a gateway to finding those inner feelings and taking control of them. They are a way for society to be better able to suppress those emotions and ultimately defeat them and come out on top. Monsters play a vital part in allowing society to overcome and face our deepest fears. When we have access to monsters and watch horror films that bring out the fear within us, we are challenging our own inner demons to come out and show themselves. Using horror and a monster to overcome our fears by facing them head on allows us to think. Using horror and monsters helps us overcome our fears by facing them head on. Think about think about how it felt before and after watching a scary movie, like for example, The Exorcist. One might be skeptical at first, but still manage to allow themselves to power through and finish the movie. There might be a lot of emotion and fear that might come out as the movie is playing out, and that is just our inner demons attempting to get a better grip on us. But we may not give in, and we may in fact power through the movie and in the end feel a sense of relief because 1, the movie is over and we no longer have to put ourselves through that, and 2, we may feel a sense of relief because we overcame our fears and made it to the end of the movie intact and alive. Not only do monsters play a key role in maintaining vital emotions, society as a whole craves the idea of them and living out our fears. We crave to see what we dread, and that's a quote from an article by Dr. Althusser. It's called the Monsters article. It's on psychology.com. We as a society have this underlying curiosity to experience and feel the unknown. Thoughts of murder and rampage and destruction are constantly running rampant through the minds of many, and monsters are a way to deter ourselves from those thoughts and essentially live out our own fantasies. Society uses monsters and horror to maintain these emotions and give us a healthy way to experience our own inner demons and dark curiosities. Monsters play a key role in helping society function in a variety of ways. However, Some might say that monsters don't actually help society in a way that benefits them, and in fact actually cause harm to society. Monsters in horror may inevitably cause a huge sense of trauma and therefore harm to those who partake in attempting control. Monsters in horror may inevitably cause a huge sense of trauma and therefore harm to those that partake in attempting to control their inner demons. I remember the first time I saw the movie Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I was so traumatized and saw Leatherface in my nightmares for weeks. Another example I can relate to is Halloween and how it is a night to face those fears and overcome them. I remember being around the age of 10 and Michael Myers chasing me down the block with the butcher knife. Now, looking back, it was a traumatizing event that I went through during that Halloween, but that fear was overcome, which is why monsters and horror aren't a means to harm society, but actually better society by showing us that despite whatever it is we're going through, in the end we will overcome our fears and come out the back and stronger than before. Monsters in horror have come a long way throughout history. They have also aged and evolved with the times, which is why they are so vital to society. There are a direct link between the times we are living in and the things we fear most. For example, in Japan, with the bombs that were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, came the emergence of an atomic monster, Godzilla. So monsters are a way for us as a society to cope with the times we are in, as well as a way to express our inner demons that we have within. Monsters are essential to society and aid in the function of society. Horror and monsters allows for members of society to distinguish between actions that are right and wrong by exposing us to different things, like a murderous being named Leatherface. They can also help us as a society to understand and know the difference between fantasy and reality. Monsters also play a key role in helping us overcome our fears and overcoming our deepest, darkest fears. Even though monsters may seem traumatizing and therefore might be seen as a harm to society, they are far from that. Without the monster in society and horror, members of society would have no outlet and thus go insane because of the need to express those fears and demons. So, monsters do more good than they do harm. Monsters and horror are also used in society in order to show us what we fear during a specific moment in time. Showing society its fears allows for that fear to be dealt with and overcome. Monsters and horror as a whole play a key role in allowing for the managing of certain emotions like fear and death, while also giving society the ability to see that they are able to control and overcome those fears within. And that's my presentation. Thank you so much. You guys have a good, wonderful rest of your day.